I now, in the presence of Almighty God and you, my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius Loyola, do by the womb of the Virgin, and the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ Vice Regent, and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth.
What master do you serve? What master do I serve? What am I supposed to say, Jesus?
As coronavirus is hitting our shores, you started a new podcast, Coronavirus Fact or Fiction. Why take that tack? You've got a lot of things to do. What's worrying you?
Well, you know, I felt like there was so much misinformation that was getting out there, or maybe not even misinformation as information that wasn't contextualized. You know, as you know better than anyone, Oz, is that in our line of work, nuance is everything. You've got to give the context here.
Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it. Would you like to see my mask?
We imagine a future. And our imaginings horrify us.
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan. No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
Well, congratulations! You got yourself caught. Now what's the next step of your master plan?
Crashing this plane with no survivors.
The kind of person that can go out on a nightly basis and go shoot people in the face and come home and go to sleep right afterwards. Can you select for that?
I guess we do. I never thought about joining the military. I always considered myself a person of values, and that, you know, that I'd stand up, you know, for the right thing. And I just felt like something may have just come across my plate that I can't ignore.
So how long from going to sleep that night until you enlisted?
Obviously, that's September 11th, and we ended up signing the dotted papers on September 27th, 2001.
It's 9:35 a.m. and traffic into Washington is getting congested.
I was on my way from my parish to the Arlington National Cemetery for a graveside service.
Father Stephen McGraw is stuck on a freeway right beside the Pentagon.
Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg. It's nice to see you again, Father. What's wrong with me?
I tried to save life, but you only seem to want to destroy it.
Oh, Father, you're so wrong.
Prospectors up here, eh, Tyler? Hey, scratching for that one crack in the ground. We'll never have to scratch again. I'll let you in on a little secret, Tyler. The gold's not in the ground. Gold's not anywhere up here. The real gold is south of 60. Sitting in living rooms, stuck facing the boob tube, bored to death. Bored to death, Tyler.
So in ancient Rome, they gave the people bread and circuses. They kept the populace busy with entertainment to control ideas, the knowledge. How do they do that? Lower education, censor information. They censor any means of individual expression. And it's important to remember this, that this is a pattern that repeats itself throughout history.
Oh, Lord. What's wrong?
Take the stick.
What's wrong?
Boredom, Tyler. Boredom, that's what's wrong. How do you beat boredom, Tyler? Adventure. Adventure, Tyler.
Jules, on an airplane that's been hijacked, and things don't go well. I'm looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you, and I'll see you later, sir. Bye, babe.
Life, which you so nobly serve, comes from destruction, disorder, and chaos. Take this empty glass. Here it is, peaceful, serene, boring. But if it is destroyed, look at all these little things. So busy now. Notice how each one is useful. Think about all those people that created them. Technicians, engineers, hundreds of people who will be able to feed their children tonight so those children can grow up big and strong and have little teeny-weeny children of their own, thus adding to the great chain of life.
Fruit.
You see, Father, by creating a little destruction,
A cherry.
I'm in fact encouraging life. You and I are in the same business. Cheers.
We're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. I'm gonna die. Ma'am, say your prayers. We're gonna think positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor. Now.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
Feeling the vibrations or the sound, I just know there was an overwhelming sense of something coming over the tops of our cars. The plane clipped a light pole as it went over the highway, and I turned instinctively to my right, and to see just in time the plane coming in and just crashing into the building right in front of my eyes.
Yeah, went in the Pentagon. Looks like it went in the Pentagon.
Father McGraw rushes towards the devastation. He wants to help anyone he can.
And we're coming to one man in particular. He said, "What is your name?"
I'm Father McGraw. I'll stay with you.
And he said, "I'm Catholic." And so I actually gave him, in those moments, the sacraments, and anointed him on his forehead with the blessed oil, the oil of the sick. And when I did that, I remember saying to him, I tell you, Jesus is with you now.
There are levels of evil, and ISIS takes the cake. Burning people alive and beheading, American citizens, and their fanaticism with Islam, as if they were commanded by God to do these things. And I enjoyed every single one of them we killed.
I got a call when he introduced the PATRIOT Act. He said, "Joe, I'm introducing the act basically as you wrote it in 1994.
President George W. Bush and his administration proposed a new law called the USA Patriot Act, or the Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism Act.
Opportunity to be with you all, especially with my former and still current colleague at Georgetown, John Podesta. We should not, in the haste of the moment, redefine the line between law enforcement capabilities and civil liberties.
Zola's algorithm is a program for choosing insects targets.
What target?
Anyone who's a threat now or in the future.
We will not let our values, the protection of freedom and the defense of liberty, to fall victim to the terrorist attacks of September 11. And one of the key criteria that we as a department and administration has been using in formulating this package is, are we including in this package, or are we proposing something that 20 years from now we may look back and say we regret?
The 21st century is a digital book. Zola taught Hydra how to read it.
What we have proposed as a package here is a very limited, very measured, very restrained set of needs, both in the immediate term and in the intermediate term, in order to fight terrorism.
Your bank records, Medical histories, voting patterns, emails, phone calls, your damn SAT scores. Zola's algorithm evaluates people's past to predict their future.
My name is Blake Resnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Brink Drones. We basically build public safety technology.
Brink Drones recently signed a deal to send several drones to the New York City Police Department. Drones aren't anything new to the New York City Police Department, but their use has only increased as the technology has become more ubiquitous.
We want to utilize this technology to complement our crisis management team, complement our police personnel, and respond appropriately and be able to respond in record time. You know, a drone could get to a location in 30, 40 seconds.
These new long-range precision guns can eliminate 1,000 hostiles a minute. The satellites can read a terrorist's DNA before he steps outside his spider hole.
This is Lemur 2. This is sort of our main in-market drone right now. It's designed to get first responders' eyes and ears in dangerous places. First drone in the world to have a glass breaking capability. This can literally fly up to a window, shatter it out, enter a structure. That's really unique. First drone in the world to have a two-way audio system. So you can actually put on crisis negotiators, use this sort of like a flying cell phone, de-escalate a situation.
After New York, I convinced the World Security Council we needed a quantum surge in threat analysis.
I mean, the reason I got interested in this space at all was the October 1 shooting happening in my hometown.
In the late hours of October 1st, 2017, a gunman opened fire on a crowd in Las Vegas from a hotel window. This became the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history.
For once, we're way ahead of the curve.
By holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection.
Canada is investing over $95 million to provide Ukraine with more than 800 Skyranger R-70 drones. These are made right here in Canada. This is a multi-rotor drone. It's developed, engineered, and manufactured at Teledyne, a Canadian company in Waterloo, Ontario. And these drones are going to help Ukraine's frontline troops assess targets and threats quickly with accuracy and effectiveness. They have an automated and autonomous navigation system, and their rugged design makes it possible to carry different camera systems and payloads that can detect, recognize, identify, and acquire targets. This drone is going to help Ukrainian troops identify individuals, vehicles, and heat sources from a long distance in dark conditions and in poor weather. Because it's not just about providing Ukraine with what they need today, it's about building the capability for Ukraine for the future. Because it's not just about winning this war, it's about creating peace and stability for the future. My friends, Canada will continue to back Ukraine in its heroic fight for freedom. Ukrainians have inspired the world. They've inspired Canadians across the country. They have united the world in NATO. They have reminded us of the importance of investing in defense, that production is deterrence, and that the only response to a tyrant like Vladimir Putin is strength and resilience and a united purpose. He has united the world against that challenge. We will not forget Ukraine. We will never abandon Ukraine. We will stand with Ukraine. We will support Ukraine until it wins this war.
In the small town of Westport, Connecticut, a drone is scanning for COVID-19 symptoms. And the reaction here is, well, mixed. Police have been flying drones here since 2016 for everything from traffic management to search and rescue. And they can use them to spot and warn people who are gathered too closely. But now, Dragonfly, the company that makes the drones, claims they can also detect whether you're running a fever, sneezing, or coughing heavily, all through a single camera flying 40 feet overhead.
Subtle differences are on like a millimeter type of basis. So if somebody's coughing, you know, like this or like this, it's actually quite a different type of cough actually that they're detecting.
The police chief says this partnership could help the town reopen, and they need every tool possible. This is the first time Americans have been scanned for symptoms in this way. And even if it does work, are we ready to be scanned from the air?
The involvement of the police makes me more worried about how this technology might have what we sometimes call function creep, in that it is used and designed for one purpose, but then it gets repurposed for other things.
Do you believe that we're going to have to strike some kind of necessary compromise with the desire for privacy in order to get out of this thing?
Public health has built into it the need sometimes to invade people's privacies.
The chief says it's all just research, but the police will see and save everything. Is this the kind of thing we'll have to use in order to gather in public again?
Do we really want to be entering into convention centers if they don't have a health monitoring system that can give us an indication or a reading of What is the potential risk?
Keep a safe distance of 6 feet from others.
There's the side of me that I say, this is very science fiction.
I feel like I've seen this movie.
I feel the same way, but at the same time, it's reality. It's our new reality.
The system to which those electronic eyes are attached is the most complete state apparatus of surveillance yet imagined, with the ability not only to recognize faces at a distance, but gait itself when facial features are hidden or obscured. Such capability can and will soon be augmented to the point where the movement of eyes themselves, monitored by high-resolution and intelligent cameras, will soon be sufficient to identify any aware and active party. The demented, naive, and prideful engineers who so enthusiastically helped build this system call it Skynet.
The Skynet funding bill is passed. The system goes online on August 4th, 1997. It becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time, August 29th. It launches its missiles against the targets in Russia.
Jesus.
Each one of these stones from darker worlds has its own story. And the bigger ones have changed entire landscapes. But they also have left a deep impact on cultures.
How might the church react if NASA detects a really threatening object hurtling towards us?
I'll be honest, we'll pray. What else can you do?
Every element in our body was synthesized in other stars before it got here. So yeah, we're all stardust.
We do not know what in the future is coming at us. Untold numbers of these voyagers from afar are still on their way.
In Hindu mythology, there is this idea of cycles of creation and destruction of the universe. A meteor impact can wipe out life, but also deliver the seeds of life.
Am I in trouble? Martin, the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet could be saved. How would a creature who's only ever stepped foot in northern Russia get volcanic ash from China or Korea under its claws? It would have to be from the Millennium Eruption. The Changbai volcano on the border of China and Korea erupted in 946 AD. With the force of over 1,000 nuclear bombs. It blew ash over half the world, and today you can still find that ash buried in ice.
Okay, now let's settle this once and for all. Year 536. Worst year ever. While serving as a military advisor to Belisarius, one of the Byzantine Empire's most distinguished generals, Byzantine historian Procopius noticed some trouble was brewing in the air while traveling with his boss in Sicily in the year 536. He wrote of a sun that gave forth light without brightness, during like the moon, during this whole year, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse. For the beams it shed were not clear, nor such as it is accustomed to shed. Translated, it was all dark outside like all the time. He, of course, wasn't the only one to notice the sun appeared to be in a mood during 536. Michael the Syrian, a Byzantine scribe, would later write of this period, "The sun became dark, and its darkness lasted for 18 months. Each day it shone for about 4 hours, and still this light was only a feeble shadow. Everyone declared that this sun would never recover its full light. The fruits did not ripen, and the wine tasted like sour grapes."
You are ready to lead these men. You are ready to become a member of the League of Shadows.
Like Constantinople or Rome before it, the city has become a breeding ground for suffering and injustice.
With the plague beginning to make the rounds in Constantinople, the city began to stink, what with the piles of dead, sick bodies just sort of being tossed around into the sea only to resurface later. There wasn't a lot of burial planning going around back then.
Bring out your dead!
It was more of a wing-it vibe around the Justinian plague. Emperor Justinian ordered the bodies to be removed from the city.
I'm not dead! Yeah, he says he's not dead. Yes, he is. I'm not.
Things weren't all bad for Emperor Justinian, though, as the plague that took all of these lives and made the city a smelly nightmare would later be named the Plague of Justinian, so that was probably nice for him. Less so for the estimated 50 million people that died from it, however. Around 536, the climate in China started its journey into madness. The Nanxi, a 6th century chronicle, reported a yellow ash-like substance falling from the sky. They named their freak weather hui, or dust, and said it was yellow in color. Whether this was volcanic ash or just some random, unexplained climate reaction is not known. However, this was just the beginning of China's climate disruption. The chronicles of the southern dynasties reported on a rare summer-winter weather event with frost in the midsummer and snow in August. Researchers discovered evidence deep in the ice sheets of Iceland and Greenland that indicated a major volcanic event occurred around 536. Volcanic eruptions in Iceland in 540 and 547 thrust people into the literal Dark Ages.
They've been here the whole time.
Why wait 1,000 years to dig out?
Ice melt projection for Russia.
Yeah, polar ice melt, Russia 2023 to 2048.
There it is. They didn't wait it out. They thawed out.
We have to get to Russia.
The following is an interview with the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, shot February 6, 2024 at about 7 p.m. in the building behind us, which is, of course, the Kremlin. The interview, as you will see if you watch it, is primarily about the war in progress, the war in Ukraine.
What do you need? Drones with attack capability. You have Blackhawks, right?
Are you going to Ukraine?
You going to Ukraine?
Now that we know what to look for, we're finding more and more inverted material, remnants of complex objects.
What do you think we're seeing?
The detritus of a coming war.
Took her. This blocks the remote detonator signal to the bomb. They might hit the button when it starts.
When what starts?
War.
My father's work is done.
What are you doing? Like a cannon out over the bay.
But shouldn't the people know the hero who saved them?
A hero can be anyone. Even a man doing something as simple and reassuring as putting a coat around a young boy's shoulders to let him know the world hadn't ended.
Yes, the fire rises. Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear. That comes later.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
I see a beautiful city and a brilliant people rising from this abyss. I see the lives for which I lay down my life, peaceful, useful, prosperous, and happy.
When I was a kid, whenever I'd feel small or lonely, I'd look up at the stars. Wondered if there was life up there. Turns out I was looking in the wrong direction.
It's one of the most unusual animals found on Florida's shores, but the horseshoe crab could hold the key in the development of a coronavirus vaccine.
With the urgent need to produce billions of doses of vaccine against COVID-19, the lives of hundreds of thousands of animals hang in the balance. These animals first appeared on the Earth 450 million years ago. The horseshoe crab. Conventional vaccine safety testing has become reliant on the blood of this animal. A material found in horseshoe crab blood cells can detect fever-causing contamination in vaccines. As part of this process, a large needle is inserted into their hearts, and the horseshoe crabs are drained of their blood.
Without these creatures, there would not be a COVID-19 vaccine. Horseshoe crabs are vital for the safety of human vaccines because their blood contains a substance that detects a contaminant called endotoxin, which is a type of bacterial toxin. Even if tiny amounts of endotoxin make their way into vaccines, injectable drugs, or other sterile pharmaceuticals, The results could be deadly.
The acid factor of the kaiju blood creates a toxic phenomenon named kaiju blue.
And then we learned this was not going to stop. The world came together, pooling its resources and throwing aside old rivalries for the sake of the greater good. To fight monsters, we created monsters of our own. The Jaeger program was born.
People talk about the return of the Nephilim after the flood, but I submit to you that there was a return of the Nephilim before the flood. And the reason I say that is because as I started to look at what I now call the synchronized, biblically endorsed, extra-biblical texts of Enoch, Joshua, and Jubilees, comparing them with the narrative in Genesis, I find that when you pair them all up together, they fill in a lot of blanks and tell a very detailed and elaborate story of what was happening. I'm just going to look at one piece of it right here. And Genesis 6, 1 through 4, Genesis talks about angels mating with humans. That syncs up with the text that you see there in red. Genesis 6, 5 through 7 shows that how God feels about the resulting violence, again syncing up with what you see there. Genesis 6, 8 through 10 reveals how Noah and his sons were genetically pure. It says that Noah was found righteous in his generations. The Hebrew word used there is tamim, same word used for the red heifer, the pure red heifer without spot or blemish and whatnot. So he was pure in his genetics. A lot of people will look at the definition of Nephilim and just say, well, if angels mate with humans, you get Nephilim. Yes, that's certainly true. But as I was contemplating these things, I had these two books sitting on my desk in that order. Douglas Hamp's book, Corrupting the Image, and Tom Horn's book, Forbidden Gates. And I'm like, wow, what if that's the formula? When we corrupt the image, the perfect image that God created and called good and very good, we start messing around with it. Could it be that we are opening forbidden gates, creating Nephilim? This is a video that I usually show here is from the movie Spider-Man, the one where he fights the lizard. You guys see that movie where the enemy, the bad guy, was a lizard? In this movie, this guy was actually a good guy. He's a doctor. He had lost part of his arm in a combat scenario. And he was trying to figure out, what's the deal with lizards? Why is it that lizards can have their tails cut off and they grow back? What is the genetic code for limb regeneration? If he could figure that out, he could grow his arm back, and then he could help lots of people, other amputees and people with various problems. That'd be a good. He starts out with good intentions. And he starts experimenting with mice and cutting off their legs and injecting them with lizard DNA until finally he gets a viable subject and the mouse's leg grows back and aha! All right, awesome. And then he can't wait, so he decides to inject his stump, and sure enough, his arm grows back. But he has an unfortunate side effect. He becomes, for the rest of the movie, a giant lizard-human hybrid that has only evil continually in his heart and mind and becomes the enemy of Spider-Man in that particular episode. And I'm like, wow. That's exactly what happened in the ancient record. When they started blending species, what the result was evil and violence continually.
We have to be thinking about this stuff. We've had the luxury of not having to think about this stuff. We shake hands. You know why we shake hands?
We're unarmed?
Yeah, unarmed. Show trust.
Yeah.
I have no weapon. But now we may have a weapon. It's a virus. And we don't know it. We're not doing it intentionally. But we have to think that way like we used to think.
Well, Dr. Gupta, our best defense has been social distancing. No handshaking, staying home when you're sick, washing your hands frequently.
Thank you very much, Doc. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You can catch his podcast. It's called Coronavirus Fact versus Fiction. If you want what's really going on, listen to this man. Disease is not the only thing that can spread. Misinformation is just as contagious. So stay smart, stay informed. We have an opportunity, guys, to come together as a society right now to face COVID-19 with passion, compassion, and patience, as well as an unwavering commitment to the truth. So don't give in to the fear, the panic, and the self-interest. Do it for each other. Be right back.
I furthermore promise and declare that I will wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. And that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, and flay, and strangle and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs of the wombs of their women, and crush their infant heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race.